had to list like the top 5 of your favorite baseball movies, what would they be?
For me, Field of Dreams #1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Field of Dreams, Major League, For the Love of the Game. Believe it or not, I like the one with I think it was Gary Cooper played. He was a Yankee, the Pride of the Yankees.
Pride of the Yankees.
Pride of the Yankees. Great movie.
Yeah. And
he was Lou Gehrig, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was and in a league of their own. I even though it was but did you hear next year they're going to have women's professional baseball again?
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's coming again next year. I heard that. So
I'll go with some of his, but you got to throw Sandlot in there. You're killing me, Smalls. And The Natural was a great movie, and then also to Kevin Costner, Bull Durham.
Oh, I love Bull Durham.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's up there.
Yeah.
That dynamic in that movie is amazing.
That was
there was a you talked about Major League. There was a line from Major League that I swear to God I want to meet the person that wrote this line, because to this day I think it's one of the funniest ever. And he said it was he runs like Mays. No, he runs like Hayes. No, he runs like Mays. He hits like Hayes.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was the funniest thing. And to this day, I'm like, who wrote that line? It's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, all he could do is hit pop-ups.
So the other part was Scott and I, back in May when we went to Cincinnati, we hit some breweries and hit some Reds games. We also went to Cleveland, and we went to some breweries up there. We were right by Progressive Field. And every time we go past Progressive Field, I kept I kept doing like the Bob Uecker, let me hear you, Cleveland.
I was going to mention that, which, unfortunately.
Wasn't he amazing? Wasn't he?
Oh, you talk about original and just one of the great of the game.
Yes.
We always at some point in time, like, just a bit outside.
Just a bit outside.
If I need something to make me laugh, I'll watch his induction speech to the Hall of Fame. And it's hilarious. He is hilarious. He had all the Hall of Famers dying.
He reminds me, like, when he spoke later in his career, after his career was over, a lot of like Yogi. Like, he had just he always had funny stories, always something witty to say, and a lot of people know him from after his career. Like, he was in Mr. Belvedere and all that stuff. So, people didn't know that he played baseball in a lot of cases. They just know him from this other thing, this second half of his life.
I don't like that again either.
Yeah. I remember Uecker saying one time, he said, the coach, he said, we were winning the game pretty good. We were thumping the team pretty good. And the coach told him, hey, you grab a bat and stop this inning, would you?
Yeah. There's a guy that in vintage baseball, his nickname was School Teacher. Colorful character, funny as a whip, just unbelievable. So, he had one of my favorite lines ever. We're playing baseball, and their field out there's not an ounce of shade. It's along the river, and you get that humidity and just hotter than the hinges of hell, just brutal. And we're just hitting that day. We just, I still think hitting's contagious. So, we're just hitting and hitting and hitting. And he's a school teacher, and this is about the 8th inning or so, and he goes, for God's sakes, will somebody make it out? I got to teach school on Monday. But I mean, again, baseball by far the funniest guys, and of course, pranks and, hot foots and different things throughout the time. But that's what you get well. And, a lot of guys like from when they retire, Danny and I just retired, it's everything advertising better. It's fantastic. But it's like, what do you miss? And it's the people, it's that camaraderie. That's what you miss in stuff. And
man.
The camaraderie, and especially like, there's a event called the Ohio Cup. It's held in Columbus.
Yep.
It's right off 71, right by the Crew Stadium. But we get teams across the country, I don't know, 25 so states, maybe 30 ball clubs. And year after year, seeing some of these guys you've seen forever and just, swapping stories and telling lies, and just like how big was the fish you caught, or how, you hit or whatever. But, again, it's just such a camaraderie of guys you want to be around,
Yes. And we just enjoy going out. And I know sometimes you got to prioritize things in your life, getting stuff done around your house and everything. But I got to admit, I get behind on it because baseball.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey.
when I was coaching my boys, both playing baseball,
Yeah.
I always tell my neighbors, I live on a corner, and I try to take pride in,
Yeah.
property land and everything. But I said, hey, a baseball coach, his yards look like hell. It can look like hell in the summer for a while. Season's over, get right back to it. But
And,
That's what the off season's for.
Yeah, you got to give props when it's where it's due, and the wives that put up with us, they're pretty amazing. They're pretty amazing.
Guys, when guys not necessarily retire from your team but can't play any longer or whatever, do you still find them still being around the team? Kind of what you were talking about earlier, just kind of being around baseball. Do you find a lot of those guys still do that?
Oh yeah, we got guys that are retired, but they still come to our home games, and they sit there and watch, and they still pay we pay dues each year, and they still pay their non-active dues and they come out and they still have a say in the club.
Yeah.
And they're very educated as far as vintage baseball goes, and they're just great people, and they come out and they sit and they cheer us on, and it's just fun to have them. It's still a joy, and someday, I'll be in their position, and Dave will be out there too, and we'll just be sitting and having a good time, and
there's a cry for
and say, I remember when,
There's a cry for old timers day of the yard. We'll be there.
Are there any former players or guys that almost made it to the major leagues that are playing in on your team or in your league that you do?
No, I mean, I had 2 Reds tryouts. I don't know of anybody else on the team that did that, but
Yeah.
I would think throughout vintage baseball that there are some good ball players. I would think I would think. I don't know if they made the bigs, but I would think that they were looked at one time and maybe played college ball. Some of them.
Yeah, there was
a
guy.
It's a good mix because you have some that are pretty good, and then you have some that are not so good.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a good mix. But
yeah, I talked to some guys, being down at first, and a couple guys that got pretty far, and I think he's right. I don't think anybody made the show, but a little bit of a cup of coffee and maybe AA, AAA, and but it's funny. We've done charity games. We've done games like to people like for civic or a town celebrating something, kind of their days, and they'll get some guys, softball players, guys that play, and they're at such a disadvantage. I mean, it's not even a fair fight because they'll have some young studs. I remember we played some firefighters down one time, and great guys, but I mean, how do you walk out there without a glove? We're used to it. So it's especially they get to the point where they think, oh, these old guys, and it's not easy.
I'll tell you a quick story. We were playing a game, and Dave and I rotate each inning at first base. Well, he happened to be out there, and we had a guy on our team that had a pretty good arm. He was playing third base. I mean, he threw a missile, and Dave caught it. He caught it, but it had to bruise his hand.
He could be a little bit difficult as a player, a little bit of that old angry softball guy. And my brother's not shy about calling somebody out or doing whatever. And this guy, he happened to be complaining a little bit, and it's like, oh God. So my brother's pitching. He leans over. He goes, "Is this going to be like this all day?" So he was mad. He was mad. He was hotter in the match and pretty fiery guy. And the play Mother's talking about, I mean, it was a shot. And this guy had a cannon. He had a cannon. And you remember that scene in Sherlock Holmes when Robert Downey Jr. is like doing all the calculations? You remember that scene? It's like, and I'm like, ball approaching very rapidly, must catch, don't be a wuss, must not, like all these calculations, and bam, and I act like it was just like a catching a marshmallow. That did a great play and everything. And I turn around here, I'm like, it only hurts so bad.
Yeah, I said to him, I go, man, you fired that ball over there at first. He goes, I thought you were playing first.
These games that you guys have been doing have been going on for a while now. Why do you think it continues to be popular with you all and with people that want to come out and see you? What's the special ingredients here?
I think it's being this part of history. they get to see the game in a different way, and how we play it and how we represent the game. I think that some of that's appealing to. I mean, we played up in Detroit. I'm not lying to you when I tell you there was 400 or 500 people there, and it drew a good crowd. Now I hear that it draws a crowd like that all the time up there, but I think part of it is because it's different, and people enjoy seeing that, especially if things are not going so well here down the ballpark. My buddy, Mr. Castellini. What'd you say to him, Dave, that time?
We've been fortunate doing a lot with them, and every time he gets a kick out of us, and I said, Mr. Castellini, I said, we're not as good as your current crop, or 160 years old or whatever. And I said, but we're a hell of a lot cheaper. So, he always gets a kick out of it, because, and I do think he really does want to win. I really do. And, it's like, you have this argument too, small market and big market. And a buddy of mine was saying, he goes, I'm not buying that. He goes, all these owners are billionaires. Some decide to put all their money in and some don't. And the Reds, they're part of their strategy is they just at least want to break even. They don't have to make money on that,
right.
part of their business. But
with the Reds now, you know as well as I do, those guys are not trying to lose games. They're trying to win every game they can.
Right.
For a fan to want to bash them and get on them, come on. These guys are out there 162 games and most of the time 90 plus temperature, and they're trying to battle and win the game as hard as they can for their fans. So I say instead of doing that, let's support them the best we can.
I agree.
And that's the way I look at it.
And part of it too, and Scott, you'll like this, that they'd asked Joe DiMaggio one time, why do you play so hard every time? He goes, there may be somebody can't afford it. That's the only game they're going to go to, and they deserve the best of my abilities every time to go out like that.
Yeah.
And I think too, to get back to your question about why vintage, a different time, a different place. You see some older guys, and you talk about a nice play. You're shocked sometimes, like how did he make that play? I mean, there's some good baseball. And now we've been known to have a couple of bad innings, a couple of sandlot innings ourselves, blow up. But it's part of the game, and I think it can get pretty exciting. And we always felt if you got the last about your home team, I think the pressure's more on the defense. I always said, look, guys, we got them right where we want them. Only especially if you're only down 1 or 2. Now you're down 4, 5, or 6. That's a different story. We've had some miraculous comebacks, which is part of it too. But because it's not easy catching that ball on the fly in the outfield. It's not easy, turning to and getting that ball and just jumping all over the field, because these fields are all grass, by the way, almost always. They're fields are kind of like how it kind of started from the Civil War guys. They any kind of field where if there's a lull or time, they could break out a game of playing in a field, and it's lumpy and bumpy, and it's just not purely you're going to make automatic 6-4-3. This is not that way, So right. I think they can appreciate both sides of some great ball and yet some kind of old guys playing a kid's game. So it really does have an appeal that people say, oh, I saw that, was so neat. And we always try to get people talking and say, hey, you bring your kids out, let them see a little bit how it is,
Yeah,
I want to if I can, I want to show you. I met some guys from your team last fall. It's kind of how you got on my radar. I was in Columbus, and we were headed to Seventh Son Brewery, and we were driving by a park. I wasn't driving, so I'm not familiar with Columbus, but somebody said, hey, look, there's like a vintage baseball team over there. And I goes, oh, that's pretty cool. So we drove by, and we get to Seventh Son Brewing, and lo and behold, a little bit later, several of the players came in there, and I talked to them for about an hour, and I wanted to see if I can share my screen real quick, if this works. If not, we'll edit it out.
Pressure's on, Scott. Technology.
I know.
you set yourself up, pal.
I found the share button earlier. Let's see.
Gotta love it.
During COVID, we had all these Zoom meetings, and we start playing bingo. It's like you're on mute, you're not on camera. All these things that would happen with these.
Did you guys see that?
Yep, that's kind of the cast I figured it might be.
Okay.
So the guy with the black shirt on, his nickname is Speedy.
Speedy,
yeah. He's our current captain. He was previously for a good
right.
12. So
yeah.
I believe that's
Robert in the middle. He he took a job in Los Angeles, and he played some this year, but then he left.
Yeah, and then the guy with the black shorts and red hat, his nickname is One Sock.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those things, you go to the yard and you think you got everything, you have a checklist. Well, he only had one sock that day, and so hence he became One Sock.
And that's funny.
Well, yeah. So those guys, and all,
those guys are great.
Yeah, not surprised they're there, quenching their thirst after it. But yeah, I've been holding this one in my back pocket because, there's the two other nicknames that come to mind, and I think Mutter's his first time out, and it was early spring, and it had rained like crazy, and so he gets out there, and I think it was a game, and it was a sloppy track from home to first, and he's busting butt down there, and we kept on saying, don't forget, you cannot overrun the bag. It's one of our rules. So he was trying to make an adjustment. He's going down there, and he went down, and there's down goes Frazier, down goes Mutter, and then it happened again. And it's like later, I was like, who is this new guy? I said, I don't know, but like an old racer, he's a mutter, like a mutter. So that's how he got his nickname. And then we were having BP one day. We don't practice much. It was just maybe before a game or whatever. We're doing some BP and Mutter's pitching, and this new guy again, and he just it's a shot right up the middle.
Oh yeah.
And Mutter's like, oh my God, that you go down instantly, like, oh my God, you feel horrible. And then of course I'm like, okay, new nickname. That guy's a ball breaker, and that stuck with him.
That's right. Yeah. And I tell you what, he hit that ball. That was hard. It got you were only 45 feet away. Yeah. And I pitched this ball, and these young kids, like I say, they're a lot younger and stronger. And this kid had not a clue where he's hitting the ball. He just hit it hard. And boy, come back up the middle, and I tell you, he rattled the old boys for a while there. It put a little sting in me. But
well, are you okay? I'm fine over here. I'm good.
To get a nickname, right?
So
oh my gosh.
Does every nickname come from something like that? Does anybody bring their own, or is it from? Okay, you've got to earn it. Okay.
We had a new guy. And again, it's hard to make that adjustment. I'm telling you, because you want to overrun first and do different things. So the guy, he was pretty quick, had some pretty quick hops, and he overran first, and by that time he thought he was going to do. So he got into a rundown. This is his very first game, very first at bat. He comes back and said, is it too soon? Your nickname is now Rundown. You're going to get it. Like I say, you're going to be on that hot seat. And if you got thin skin, it's not the place to be. But most of them are earned. And, matter of fact, when Danny talked about that, George Wright, I think it's his great grandson. He's come around. He's got to be a real good friend of the club. And he decided to play. And big boy, and he was playing, I don't know where he was playing, but he kind of like Dan said, hey, kind of get that ball and kind of push it, And I said, boy, I hit one in the old breadbasket, and that name stuck, So you kind of earn them. But, it's just like you don't want to make that error because whatever you made a mistake, it might stay.
That's the one thing.
We had a guy on the team, I think Dave nicknamed him. He looked just like Jesse Winker.
Oh yeah.
And Jeff and Dave named him Wink.
Wait, say, hey, don't wink, kid. The kid winked at me, Well, I dropped monikers on about half dozen guys, It's just that's part of the fun, It's just we just we laugh and but again, we like to win, and we'll go hot and cold. And we were in Detroit years ago, and we were playing this team, and there was a time, because he had tons of time, and this team they were pretty good. And they said, well, we were, I think, the last game of the night. And they said, well, you want to go on, play a little more? And we're like, sure, we'll play all night. It doesn't matter less. Well, we came back and beat them. And these guys, they got a case of the ass, and they were not happy with us. Like, would you offered it, I think their name of the Mules are, remember the Mules? It's just a rallying cry, Each year the story gets better and better, of course, but, it's just, stuff like that, you sit there and talk about after the game, and then stories get richer and more so. And, he said, the guy I mentioned earlier, school teacher, kind of like the euchre of ours. I always said, look, put a quarter in, pull the slot, and just let him go. just let him go.
It's nothing but gold.
Yeah, exactly.
How you guys mentioned players kind of coming and going, or at least coming in sometimes. How does someone get to join your team if they can? Do you guys have tryouts at the beginning of the season? Are you looking for new people all the time
Yeah, they
at the
do
beginning
put
of the
it out
season?
there that we do have a tryout, and people come out, they're interested. They might see us playing and say, "Hey, we're interested in maybe becoming part of that," and and we'll let them know we're going to have a tryout or something. They'll look online, they'll see, when they open a tryout, when we're having a practice or something, and they'll come out. Some of them, but usually it was word of mouth through a player, through another player. Like I got on a team from my buddy who was the president of the club, Bill Diekman. Me, and Brian Bertram. We used to call him, what was his
Bird
name?
dog. Bird
Bird
dog.
Dog. Yeah, Bird Dog. And we got on and he played for years until his knees gave out on him. So I can
Well,
still hit and I can still catch and throw. It's that running part. And those bases seem to get farther apart every year.
Yeah,
and then,
I'm in.
Bird dog, he's a pretty good outfielder. He's
Yeah.
kind of like,
Oh, he was.
that's where
Yeah.
balls go to die. And if he'd make a nice catch, I say that dog will hunt,
Yeah.
So it just, the nicknames and playing on that kind of stuff. And then, he's referring to Bill or Pick. He goes, I hope you guys don't mind, but I'm bringing two guys on, and they're solid guys and played ball with them in the past, and I think I like them. Well, it's Mutter and Bird Dog, and two of the finest guys, and we just had so much fun, and we'll do at least once in the off season. I'll try to get together or celebrate a birthday or something, and
Yeah.
it's always nice having the old guys back. As a matter of fact, Pick's grandson just graduated from high school and had there's 6 or 8 of us, and we were just out there, just again telling stories and having some fun, and but that part of that family event, which is neat.
Yeah, we always try to have fun. I remember we was at Oscars for the silent auction for the Joe Nuxall Fund, and Marty Brennan, I was standing there, and Marty came up. I was talking with him a little bit. And I don't know, David, it might have been you. I told him, I said, well, if you want to meet us for spring training, we usually start off at the Frisch's Breakfast Bar if you want to come and join us. He looked at me and goes, that's the last thing you need.
Well, I was going to say that, with guys, so Danny and I have both lost weight. Danny's lost a little bit more than I have. And but prior to that, we were known as Jolly first baseman.
Yes.
So, the typical, so you talk about guys come in, and I'd say, like Speedy would say, we might have somebody. I said, how old? This. I said, how much does he weigh? And this time I'm like, last thing we need is a damn old Jolly first baseman. We don't need any more. We got plenty of them.
Hey, the first year we played at Great American Ballpark, they let us play. I believe it was after the game, and we were playing, and I heard one of those fans in the stands that stuck around for our game. I come around third base. They go, "It's the Great Bambino." Really? But it's fun. It's just
that's so great.
being able to play,
so
and we played a few times at Great American Ballpark, and that was a blast. So,
but talk about Bambino, and again, this has been a real nice mix, bounce off between current baseball and baseball, throughout the ages, and then our stuff. But to me, and I don't, if you're asking me that argument, the greatest player ever, to me, it's Babe Ruth, bar none.
Yeah.
Because his pitching was unbelievable. How that guy could pitch. Of course, he hit so well they had to have him in the lineup every day, and it was one DH. And then fast forward now to Shohei Ohtani. I mean, what that guy's doing is unbelievable. But and Shohei may eclipse the Babe in pitching and hits and what have you. I don't think in homers. I think that record's going to stay in a while. But you marvel at the talent, and talking about earlier I asked about if you guys were golfers. I mean, again, the two sports that I really do like, I picked the two daggone hardest ones. It's gotta be something.
It's all about hitting the ball, right?
Well, and it's interesting when you talk about Babe Ruth. I'm not even so sure a lot of times when history is talked about with Babe Ruth that he gets enough credit for his pitching, because it's all about his hitting.
Right. He was a great pitcher.
It was a short period, kind of a short
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
You just think about you talked about earlier, like the nutrition, like the era to era, and that's 100 eras ago. Like the nutrition and the working out and all that stuff compared to now, like and you could do that then.
right.
Well, so if my brother and I, if we've had a long night the night before on a Saturday night or whatever, and you kind of like, yep, just be like the Babe, roll out, give me a hot dog and beer, and I'm good to go the next day.
I think Dave started the season with about a dozen hot dogs and about a case of beer.
Now this guy's the guy to talk, because
Yeah.
if you come and you see us and you get between Mudder and a piece of fried chicken, you better run for your life.
Well, you better bet on it.
You ain't making it out of there.
Hey, I got
Hey,
I got this thing for fried chicken. When it's there, I'm there. And that's one of the things too. We got teams that come from out of town to play us. After a game, we'll feed them. After the game, we'll sit around and talk, and we'll feed them. So not many teams do that. I don't think,
that's pretty cool.
So, but
real quick sidebar, because you've been in Nashville, for hot chicken. Have you done some hot chicken in Nashville?
No, we went to a place. It was down close to the river, because you could see the Titan Stadium on the other side of the river, and it was on the corner, and it was like 3 stories high.
Okay.
We went in there and we ate there that night.
Yeah,
But
personally,
I got a video on my phone. I don't know how to pull it up. God, mess everything up. Of Dave, I was filming Dave while he's in his all. You know, he's had a few, and he's singing, walking down the main street in Nashville, and I was filming him. And some guy come up behind him and gave him behind the rabbit ears behind him. But
I thought maybe I'd get discovered, and
yeah, and like he said, Nashville. And Steve, you know how hot it gets there. And we were playing, it was a plantation, wasn't it? We played that?
Yeah.
Because they had a cemetery out in center field.
Was
that Bell Mead?
It was so hot. And one of the teams, they did kind of like the farmer's bib overhauls.
Yeah.
And he's out there, and all of a sudden he's got the dry heaves, and he's bending over, just going at it for everything he's worth. And finally got a little up. I'm like, who's ever playing center? Watch out. But yeah, what a fun town. I love Nashville.
Yeah, Nashville.
Back to your original question, I was a meat and potatoes guy raised, Midwest here. And my dad had somewhat sensitive stomach, so we weren't much spices. And I'm still not today. I'm not a spice guy, but the food down there, the entertainment, we walked by one place and hopped in, and they were kind of like a Charlie Daniels, like cover band, tribute band. And I closed my eyes, and the guy in the fiddle, you thought it was Charlie right then and there. The talent in that town. And I always say, shows like American Idol and America's Got Talent stuff, I thank God for them, because, Carrie Underwood would be singing in the bar in Oklahoma if she wasn't discovered. Look at her talent. I mean,
sure.
And then I've never been to a place like that. So like, hey, band's going to take a break. We'll be back in 15. Not down there. They keep on playing.
They just keep going.
Keep on going. Who's going to discover us, and
we went to a rooftop bar. I believe it was at George Jones' place. I think it was George Jones. He had a rooftop bar up there.
Yeah.
And that place.
If you don't have a rooftop bar downtown, you won't last long.
Cincinnati's got a couple now on top of the hotels down there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't been yet, but I hear they're pretty nice.
Hey, we're going to get back to the podcast episode in just a minute. But Scott, right now, we want to talk about our proud sponsor, Nashville Brew Pass.
We love them, don't we?
We do. And tell everybody what Nashville Brew Pass is.
Nashville Brew Pass. And if you haven't seen us hold this booklet up 100 times, here's 101. That's what it is. It's a passport. It's got multiple breweries in here. I think we counted 40 plus or something at one time, Steve.
There are many, many breweries in here. There is even a QR code in this book that shows you a map and list of all the breweries that are in Nashville Brew Pass.
Yeah, and it's great. It's got over $60 worth of beer and whiskey discounts in this thing alone. So in that $60 worth of discounts, that includes like buy one, get one frees, half off pints, a free whiskey pour at one of the local tap rooms.
Yes.
Pays for itself twice over.
That is a great thing, man. If you don't have this yet, go online at NashvilleBrewPass.com. Also, go on their Instagram account, and you can get one of those as well.
Get it and put in the code Brewery Underground Podcast. Get your $5 off.
All right. That is awesome.
The other things you get too, Steve, is when you go to one of the events, you don't even have to register. You just show up with it. It's like you're a VIP. You just show up with your brew pass. You're already on the guest list.
And boom, you know what they're going to do? They are going to give you a stamp.
Bam. a stamp. You gotta get a stamp.
Well, I'll tell you this much right now, my friend. I love the savings. I love the fact that Nashville Brew Pass is very involved in the beer community in Nashville. Also, as you said, they're also involved in distilleries in Nashville and a couple of cideries as well. So we love them.
I thought of something cool today, Steve. If someone were new to Nashville and didn't know where to go, this would be something great for them to pick up or be gifted so that they would know all the best places to go in town.
That's right. Fantastic resource. So if you're coming into Nashville, go online and get this right now.
Right. It takes the guesswork out of it. You don't have to get online and say, where are all the breweries at in Nashville? They're all right here. You just get your booklet. And like you said earlier, there's a map. You look up the map. It tells you exactly where everybody is.
That's our proud sponsor, Nashville Brew Pass. Now back to the show. You guys mentioned in the beginning of the podcast about some of the beer, you mentioned some old style beers. Do you guys get into craft beer at all? Are you craft beer guys or just more of the old school beer?
Actually, we got a place called the Dead Low,
yes,
which is down Kellogg Avenue. And, and my wife and I go there sometimes, and she gets their, it's called American Lager, because they don't have your typical, Miller Lite or whatever. They have their own, they make. And she likes their American Lager a lot. Yeah. So we do that, but she's more of the beer drinker than I am. So.
And I again, what we were kind of raised on, but as you know, how many German festivals there are here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll go and I'll get like a pale ale or, some of the different ones and kind of get out of my comfort zone. But going back to the story with Pick, so we go to St. Louis and go to this new bar, and they've got 48,000 beers to choose from. All this, and what do you have? He goes, Bud Light. The man is as loyal as can be, and we'll sit around drinking, and my brother and I usually have Miller Lite, and we do all this, and next thing you know, like, oh my God, my cooler's out. And you look at Pick, and he's got the Endless, and guess what? He's got Bud Light. Like, damn, greatest beer ever. You mind if I have one of those? Yeah. When the going gets tough, that's the only thing left is the best beer going. But
it's so funny when you mentioned in the beginning of some of the beer that we grew up on in Cincinnati. You talked about Wiedemann, and I always remember Hudipol. Like, you would go to the Reds game and you hear the vendor, ice cold Hudipol. Yeah. And then I always remember the Stroh's commercial, and it kind of went like this. Something like Stroh's is for the real beer lover. There ain't something like no other.
I remember that. Yeah.
Isn't that the way it went?
Yeah, there was a huge Reds advertiser, and so funny. So my uncle, who's from Cincinnati, he ended up going to Detroit for a job. And my dad was a milkman. So you get together, Uncle Jack didn't drink beer, and my dad didn't drink milk. So we're like, guys, you kind of got your wires crossed here, but the Strohs, and again, the PBRs, and then the Hudipol, Get Moody with Hootie. It's just some of the beer. So there's another guy in our ball club. He works for Sam Adams Brewery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he I still think they get some free product here and then, and he'll bring some stuff to the game, and I'll try it. But my brother had this pickle beer. And it was god awful.
I'm looking at Steve right now when you say it. Go ahead.
I'm like, son, what's wrong with you? That was the worst. And I never turned out a free beer. One free beer I didn't like, But I kind of get boring in my I should probably expand my horizons a little bit. But when I do, I'm more of the kind of the pale ales or the wheats or kind of those things.
Sure.
I should try. But God, there's so many microbreweries here anymore, and the over the Rhine section and some of that great German architecture. They've done some really neat stuff up and down there.
Yeah, the good stuff. The good thing, Dave, is if you walk into a place and you don't like, a bunch of IPAs or whatever, there's probably something in there that you'll like. Even if if you ask them, they're going to have something on the lighter side or a pale ale or something. They usually try to have something for everyone.
Which is neat too. They'll give you a little sampler, which is great.
Yeah.
Instead of having a whole beer, don't like it, going to waste it.
Yeah.
We did the bourbon tour, and in the beginning, they give it to you in this purest form. And I mean, you take that and you're like whistling Dixie, it's just strong. But
when it's nice and clear, that white lightning.
Oh, man. But you were talking, Steve, earlier about, back in Cincinnati, back in the day, all the different beers. My father used to own a little grocery store in Northside where I grew up. And we would always go to Hula Pole down on Central Parkway. And,
Okay.
and get his stuff there and bring it back to the store. But until he didn't have a delivery guy. But there's still bars in that neighborhood that some of the older guys, they should take the 5-gallon clear jug to the bar and they would fill it up for them, and they take home, and that's what they drank on through the week while they were working, and then the weekend, and then they come back in and fill it up again.
Why not?
There was a term for that. I don't know if it was class, probably, but it was called a growler.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a bar when I lived up in Columbus, they named it growlers, and it's kind of neat. But yeah, stories like that. And my grandfather, Cincinnati native, he worked for Western Union. He was a telegrapher. And, he would talk, he taught me growler and just different things, how things were back in the day. But back in the day, if like the Reds go to Chicago, like in the 30s, whatever, there was no radio to radio or TV type of thing. So it was all by, Western Union, by telegraph. And, my grandpa's claim to fame was because the Reds were in Chicago and Johnny Vandermeer threw his consecutive no-hitter.
Yeah.
My grandpa said, I was the first guy in Cincinnati that knew about it. Because he then he would type it out. And then, I don't know if you remember the name Red Barber. Red Barber would do the announcing after whatever my grandpa typed out. And they got so good and they knew baseball so much that they'd have like 2 wooden slats or whatever, and they crack, and they put those together like the crack of the game, and you would never know. That's how it was being done.
Yep. For my 50th birthday, my father-in-law gave me a ball that his father gave him, and it's signed twice by Johnny Vandermeer. I'll never let it go. And it only means something to the Reds fans.
Sure.
But I couldn't let it go no matter what. It's some things in life you just keep.
Same thing. My grandfather gave me a program for the first night game in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
May of 24th, 23rd, 24th of 35. And, it's just stuff like that. It's in your blood. And, you spoke of opening day. You're right. There's no other city that does opening day like Cincinnati. And
none.
They've told you what they're trying to make it, a citywide or whatever, holiday and whatever. Hard to do, to get that done. But I remember it was my senior year in high school, and somebody, I don't know how, but we got tickets to opening day. I'll never forget the English teacher who loved my sisters, and they were good. And why can't you be like your sisters? And whatever. So and then she goes, now tomorrow. And she did it on purpose. She said, we're having a test, and I don't want any grandmothers dying tomorrow because of, it's opening day. And we had 4 tickets, and it's, I'm like, yeah, we're going. And we went to opening day. She had that test, and, I was like, you'll regret this. Like, many years later, I don't regret going opening day. Test didn't seem to matter as much, but.
Well, I think the joke has always been, and I could say this as a lifelong Reds fan, well, especially in recent years, that you get excited for opening day, you go to the game, and then after the game is over, going, all right, what's next? Because it's kind of like you just don't know. Yeah. You don't know. Are you already going to utter the words? There's always next year.
Well, the other thing with opening day too,
opening day in Cincinnati is like a national holiday.
It is, yeah.
So businesses close half day, whatever. And you
remember we were the only team that opened that, the only game in baseball that day.
Back in the day.
Yeah. And my kids in their school, we had to call if they were going to, be absent, just to make sure and everything. And this is my 3rd year in a row, and I knew the secretary pretty well. And she goes, "Oh, Dave," she goes, "Do the boys have Reds fever again today?" Yeah, that fever's high. They won't
Reds fever.
You guys remember when that bat day was a full-size bat?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
you got the big bat. Yeah, I think that went away after somebody got conked with a few of them or something.
Yeah.
So can you imagine that Riverfront Stadium? And it was a nice bat, and then pounding on that cement, it drove the other team crazy, And they finally, like I said, Mother said they quit doing that. But it came across, I think it was the anniversary just the other day of the 10-cent beer night in Cleveland. Clevelanders and cheap beer, what could go wrong there possibly?
Yeah, exactly.
Crosley Field, they had some wooden bleachers, and man, when they start pounding on that, it got loud. But to me, Crosley Field was a great baseball park. It was just, you go to the game, stop and get peanuts from Peanut Jim. Stole the
Yeah.
peanuts out. I mean, he was part of history. Our team, Greg Rhodes. From what I hear, he started our team, and he's a baseball historian. I mean, he was in charge of the Hall of Fame for a lot of time, for a while there, wasn't he?
Yeah. And,
Yeah, and he still
one of
comes
my
out. He'll still come out to our games and officiate a game for us.
great guy. So one of my
Yeah.
Crosby Field stories was a friend of mine. We were at summer camp, and they took the bus down. The kids, we get to go, and I don't know, maybe we had 30, 40, 50 cents, whatever. And we're in the sun deck, the bleachers in right field. And, Pete was my guy from the minute I watched first baseball. Pete's playing right. And I'm like, wow. So he turns around and, he throws it. And here I am, probably 10, and it's coming at me. It's coming. I'm like, my God, I'm going to get ball from my hero. This big old fat guy kind of gets in front of me, gets the ball. And he's, And I'm like, all dejected. I'm like, all right, so let's go down and we'll get a pop, and we go down and I got my 10 cents, whatever, and I come back. I don't know if it's the same fat guy or not, but we're getting sloshed. I lose half my cup. I'm like, this sucks. I was like, I didn't get a ball. My pop's gone. I was like, I'm not having any fun here.
That's funny.
Miserable experience.
You guys, if you get back in Cincinnati during the season, look at our website and come out to a game, man. I know it would be great to have you. The guys would love to meet you.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's talk about your website for people that they're interested in going to some of your games. Can you talk about how direct them there?
Yeah, 1869reds.com.
Bingo.
And get on there, and they got our schedule, pictures of. Don't look at my picture too much. It looks like a serial killer. But
well, now we're going to seek it out.
But yeah, it's a great website, and it's got our schedule on there, where we're playing at and who we're playing, times and everything. And we'd love for everybody to come out and watch us. I say that all the time.
It's red carpet for you.
Yeah. So come out, man. When you come in town, come out. Get hold of us.
Yeah. Would love to.
1,000%.
And guys, I hope we stay in touch because you guys are freaking fantastic.
Well, again, we appreciate it. We could do a whole night on Pete. We could do a whole night on stories. I mean, it's just, when Speedy told us about it, it's like, and this is coming off our local, Channel 12 appearance. And, I'm like, oh God, the paparazzi, just, it's like, will they ever stop? We can't get our heads through the doors anymore, but, just, you're so gracious to have us on. And again, we could go all night, but, anytime you want to dial us up, we're here.
Wait, dude, I've never had so many goosebumps on an interview than I had in this one. I'm not kidding. With the baseball stories and just talking baseball, and I mean, I've got them right now. I mean, it's just it's wonderful. Just talking baseball and beer. It just, oof, I'm in my element.
Well, and listen, and I have to say, as a Cincinnatian, listening to you guys reminds me so much of what I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does. So it takes me back to the good old days of all of that. And I can tell you, I've been to more Major League Baseball games or Reds games than any other sport. I mean, as you can tell, I'm a Reds fan through and through for life.
Keep on, brother, to keep you going. But baseball is just. I tell my grandson it's the best game in the world. But
again, it started. We were 10 years old. We had the transistor. All right, go to bed. And you had that transistor on that, and listen to that Reds game, and then you couldn't get sleep. And then, especially if they were out west, playing the Dodgers. It's like you had to hide that. So mom came in and checked on you. It's like, oh yeah, you seem to be asleep. And then she'd go out and you turn that up, and just like I say, we were again so fortunate of Marty and Joe as probably 40-year partnership of baseball.
It's awesome. One of the greatest memories was that for me was I had my son Josh, and we were at Riverfront Stadium, and we had a transistor radio sitting between us, empty seat, and we're sitting there listening to Marty and Joe and watching the game.
Yep.
And I'll never forget that. That was like one of the best days of my life. It was great.
We get back to one of the ball games. We could keep you guys all night. We don't want to do that. But my dad, my brother, and I, and my brother-in-law, we used to go, and we'd stay at a hotel the night before the opener and go to the parade just before we were playing ball and marching in the parade, which we have, for 25 years or so. But we would, go down there and, we the tickets, we get nosebleeds. We're way up top, it's just, you're so up there. And we see my brother-in-law, he's down there, he's talking to this usher, or not the usher, but one of the vendors. And, like, I hope he's not going to cause any problems, because they're at it for a while. Finally, next thing you know, he talked the guy into it somehow. He had the whole case of beer. And he brings it up, and he's up to see if people, they're looking at him like, how'd you do this? And Joe's great, it's pass him out. I said, how in the hell did you do it? He goes, he's like, I remember him pointing up there, and he goes, look up there. There's brave men dying up here. They need this beer. The only guy I've ever seen get a case of beer, the guy paid for it and, brought it up to us, it was like, it was just, my God, from that day on, he was a hero for life.
Yeah. I tell you, if you guys get the different ballparks, strike up a conversation with an usher, somebody that's been working there for a while, because the stories you can hear are amazing. I was at Fenway, and the usher, I was standing on the first field level, and he said, see this last row of seats? These seats were here when the stadium opened in 1912. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then, of course, when the Reds played there, they show them in behind the wall, signing the wall. Wouldn't you like to have a piece of that wall?
Yes.
Oh,
yes. How historic is that?
That's amazing. But Fenway's a great place to see a ball game. And I was fortunate enough to go to the house that Ruth built before they tore it down. And what a place to see a ball game. That's a ball stadium right there. Yeah, like Crosley Field. That was a ball stadium to me.
And you got to throw Wrigley in there.
Oh yeah.
I took my boys and we stayed way out of town. Hotels were too much downtown, and we did the whole subway, did the thing, and went in there, and we were walking up the concourse, walking up, and my son, he might have been 10, 12 at the time, whatever it was, and he gets out there, and it was a beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky, not hot, the flags going, and he just stood there like he was in awe. It was like, he had seen something that he was just, it was unbelievable how just beautiful it was, and that's again, with baseball, I know we keep on talking, but it's that, the father, the son, your grandfather, whoever, that handed down to the generational thing of it. And that's for me, going back to your question about movies. That's why Field of Dreams just struck such a chord.
Yeah. There's nothing like watching a baseball game with your dad.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And just to your point again, when you walk out not onto a baseball field, to walk out to see a baseball field in a new park, it's just, I could stand there for hours too. And it doesn't matter what the park is. It's just like,
it's magical.
Right.
Yeah, it is magical.
It's a very special thing.
I always say every time I walk into Great American Ballpark and I'm sitting there, it's just my happy place. It's like, it's like, yes, baseball season is around again, and just go relax, have a beer, and have a good time.
Yeah.
Speaking of happy place, I'm a little nervous because Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out here, towards the end of the month. And how do you replace that movie? I mean,
I know.
Happy's happy place was pretty happy, with a picture of being and I'm thinking, my gosh, it's like there's very few movies can hit a home run again like he did with Happy Gilmore, and I'm a little concerned it might be a little cheesy.
They've done that with the second, the sequel of a lot of movies lately, The Beetlejuice and Coming to America, and it's almost not that they ruined them, but it's almost the second movie again or the first movie again. So
how do you duplicate a masterpiece like that?
I know.
I think it's time for another good baseball movie.
And there you go.
You got to admit, I mean, let's be honest. When it comes to baseball movie, Kevin Costner's the king.
Yep.
And no sport does their history and past like baseball. Nobody can hold a candle.
And there's a million ways you can come at it. You can talk about a team, or you can just from an angle or something. Like I like the movie 61. Obviously, it was about the Yankees, but it was
Billy Crystal.
It was just about one season and two players.
Do y'all know you guys watched it when with the Field of Dreams, when Major League had their first game there? The Reds played Chicago White Sox. Am I right?
Or was it the Cubs, I think? Was it the White Sox or the Cubs?
Was it the Cubs? Okay. But they had a little skit there where it had Johnny Bench thumbing for a ride on the road, right? Do you remember seeing that? And they picked up. He goes, "Yeah, I'm a catcher. I play ball." And I'm like, "My God, it's just watching that. It was just the greatest. It was great. Everything about that was perfect. You know, Ken Griffey Jr. and Senior come out, and they were tossing ball in the first throw. I think it was the Junior that dropped it. I mean, those guys, and that's homegrown. Ken Griffey Jr. lived in Mount Airy when he was a kid in Cincinnati. He lived around the street from my wife, and I used to see him all the time riding his bike up there and everything. And my God, I mean, so much talent that's coming.
Well, I actually have a Ken Griffey Jr. story. I wish I could verify, or somebody was with me that could back up this story. But when I was a kid, a buddy of mine that we lived on the same street together, he played little league ball with Ken Griffey Jr.
Okay.
And so we're since I grew up over on the west side, we were actually at Little Flower Church over by Mount Airy.
My wife grew up on Whitewood, right down the street from Little Flower. Yes.
So the
Little Flower.
So the Griffeys lived in that area.
Yes.
And we're sled riding. We're going down on an inner tube. And we're going down to the center tube. It was me and the guy that lived on my street at the time. We were probably maybe 10, 11 years old.
Yeah.
And there may have been one or two other people on the inner tube. And Ken Griffey Jr. jumped on the inner tube.
Really?
And I didn't know it was him at the time, but my friend's like, yeah, it's Ken Griffey Jr. And we go down the end of the hill, and he hopped on midway. And then he ran away and went, I don't know. That's the last time I saw him. And I'm like, I wish there was somebody with me today that I could go, man.
You know, I work with a guy named Ron Jorger, and he used to coach Ken Griffey in novice ball, and they played their games at Little Flower. He said Griffey was in center field for him. And if the ball was hit the left, he'd run over and catch it. The ball was hit the right, he'd run over. He said he didn't. Those other kids, he didn't want to take a chance on them missing it. So Griffey just took care of the whole outfield.
All right.
Well, and I mean, you watch as many games as you can. You can't, do it all the time. But I've happened to be watching a couple, and then when Senior and Junior went back to back, the home runs. Again, how do you script that? You don't. It just happens.
Right.
It happens seems to be more in baseball than any other sport.
Yep.
Just such neat stuff like that. But I get back to Pete, of course, my obsession. But I had to talk about, because I was thinking about being starstruck. I thought that's what you were going to say, admitting somewhere. But so I was living in Columbus, and when 4192 was coming up, I was living up there, and I sat down. And I'm not that smart of a guy. I looked at Pete. I knew all his stats and averages, and I said to myself, I think it's going to happen. That right around 9/11 at home, and I bought tickets for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Drive down Monday, didn't play. But hey, he might switch, might pinch hit, whatever. Go down. I'm driving. I passed myself on 71. I'm so tired I couldn't see straight. And we go, so I get to see 4192. So in person. So back, fast forward a couple years later in Columbus, and Pete's doing a book signing. And I'm like, again, don't make a fool of yourself. What are you going to say? It's Pete. It's the hit king. And my turn in line. For next thing I know, and I'm looking at Pete. I said, he said, hey, Pete. I said, yeah. I just wanted to let you know it was great. I said, I was at 4192. And he looked up and he goes, so was I.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Dave. I was at that Monday game.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When Pete tied the record in Chicago, and when he came back, my dad said, we got to go. And so we got tickets. It was at the old riverfront, and we were sitting like nosebleed out in the outfield. And I mean, from way out there back at that time, I mean, you were lucky you could even see home plate. Yeah. And of course, as you said, he didn't play that night. Right. Now, I wasn't there for 4192. We were only able to get tickets for that game. But the thing I remember that night was Pete came out to argue a call, and everybody gave him a standing ovation. So I wasn't there for 4192, but even for that was a pretty big deal. So
and when that happened, and we talk about catching balls at first, our hands. When he did, it was an 11-minute standing ovation. You talk about your hands hurting. I think I clapped all 11 minutes.
Yeah.
God, I need 2 years, one hand to cool them down.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yep. Yep. Oh my gosh.
Guys, I know we're probably winding down here, but I do have a question. Are Cubs or Cardinals fans allowed to join your team?
No.
We've had them all, and we're currently putting up with our Yankee guy.
Hey, there's worse.
I gotta say about Cubs fans, when you go to a Reds game, I swear it's almost like there's more Cubs fans there than Reds. They got a following, and they got a heck of a team this year.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So, but it's good. I went to Chicago last year to watch the game. Took my grandkids with me, and it was their first time riding on the subway. And man, we had it wasn't a good experience for them, but we still have fun, But Chicago's a great place. Chicago's a great place to watch baseball.
We had a guy who's a dear friend of ours, and he big Cubbies fan. And ironically, his dad's Southside guy is a White Sox guy, and we've become very close with their family. And we see him, and he comes back for our golf outing, both of them, for the golf outing, and he's just dyed in the wool. And then so we have a text chain going. Was like, if we get him, it's like we'll text it. Anybody see the game last night? Anybody got a result? What happened last night? Or if we sweep them or whatever. And we're always just back and forth, just busting balls with it constantly with him all the time. But I look at this team this year. I'm like, where did that come from? And then I text him after PCA just ran roughshod on us. So I said, give me PCA, please. Come on. I'm sorry about all this stuff before. He's nah, you ain't getting PCA. I mean, that kid's lit it up. That's unbelievable what he's doing,
Right.
Yeah. It's
we let him on. We just hope they'll kill each other because that's a big rivalry, Cubs Cardinals. It's like
right.
We can take each other out.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yes.
Gotta ask, what's the new Yankee Stadium like? Is it pretty cool?
It's amazing, man. I call it. Look, I'm gonna be partial, but man, I call it Mecca. When I walk in there, it is that. It's just like. It's glorious on the outside. It's glorious on the inside, and it's the ghosts are still there. What's that?
Yeah, I'll get there someday. I'm actually going to Kansas City this year.
Nice.
That's a place I'd like to go. Yeah.
So we've been around. We played ball in Milwaukee. We went to the game there. That was a lot of fun. St. Louis. We did a tour of the old. I saw a game at the old St. Louis Stadium and the new, and we did a tour of it when we played ball there. And it's just going to different baseball. It's a lot of fun. Fenway's
it's nothing like it.
Well, Scott, I'm trying to get something. I'm being a little selfish here. Somehow, some way, you're the Yankee guy. You got to get me the George Costanza sleeping on the sofa bobblehead. Have you seen that? They're coming out with it.
Is it coming out?
Yeah, and people are already trying to get their, trying to bid crazy dollars for it already.
That's hilarious.
Insanity. I mean, those episodes when he was working for the Yankees, God, those were classic. They were so good.
So because they'd have Yankee players, and of course Steinbrenner was never on, but it was always Larry David doing his voice, which was always great.
I love the one scene where they come in and they're at George's home. He's in the back of his head. Steinbrenner is going on, and then something about this, that, or George, and something, and all of a sudden, I think it was Jerry Stiller or. I think it's Ben Stiller's dad. He was great in that role as the father. He goes, he's saying something, and it's all about George and his mom, Georgie and this and whatever. And then the next thing you know, he goes, why in the hell did you trade Jay Bruner?
Yeah.
He was giving Steinbrenner shit.
Just typical the way he was, just lighting him up.
Yeah, when they had the episode of like the cotton uniforms and Jeter was in it and everything else, and he's like, they're like, weren't you the guy that put us in that Ramada?
We were fortunate. I worked in pharmaceuticals my career, and we had we always had nice big events, and Derek Jeter was the keynote speaker for us, which is great. And our guy did a good job interviewing, and he had said that being from Michigan, he had nowhere near the number of reps or games, and when he signed with the Yankees, he's called his parents. He's like, hey, I can't cut it here. I mean, I'm not as good as these guys. They've played way more than I have, and his parents said, just stick with it, stick it out, And end up being one of the all-time greats. And the Reds could have had him. We picked this guy named Chad Mottola, this 5-tool player, our GM Jim Bowden, which Pokey Reese had the greatest line ever. He said, "How do you know when Jim Bowden's lying?" He goes, "When his lips are moving."
Yeah.
We could have had Jeter in the draft, and we didn't.
Yeah.
I'm like, God
How
almighty.
freaking funny is that?
No, it's unbelievable.
Aren't you the guy that put us in the Ramada?
Yeah, but it's like it's such a funny thing. But that's how and I always said, because Barry Larkin played for Michigan. If I'm a stud, a player coming out of high school, and I'm going to go the college route, why would you not go southeast, southwest? In a warm climate. I don't get it, because baseball in colder weather is hard. It is not fun. You get that sting, and it's just some of these SECs or Southwest schools, I'm like, why would you ever play up north in baseball? I don't get it. But to his credit,
because you can play longer too. Facilities are better. You can play longer. Throughout you can play all year, really.
Yeah.
Talk about Cincinnati had a lot of homegrown talent, and another one that we didn't mention was Tommy Helms.
Yep.
Yeah, and he was
recently died too, right?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it was, I don't know. I think it was back in the '80s. We had an all Cincy infield. Larkin, Billy Dorn, Ron Oster.
Yep.
And we didn't forget the other one. But
you had Scott Service made it. He pitched for the Kansas City, Philly.
And how do you have
he played in Japan a year? The Giants.
The whole Buddy Bell, that was the other one.
Yeah, I had a great uncle who knew Buddy Bell pretty well.
Great family.
Really? Yeah. Yep.
Good people.
Yep. Yeah.
But I'm afraid, Scott, that I don't know how he's surviving, but I guess Aaron Boone's on the hot seat.
Yeah, I know. He getting to the World Series got him another year, but man, I don't know. I don't know. Hey, look, everybody's got injuries. We've had injuries, but man, you got to be. I don't know. Something's got to give, right? It's they're spending a lot of money for mediocrity right now.
Yeah. Well, we had Bob Boone as a manager for a while, and it drove me insane. He'd say something like, "Well, we didn't get enough points." I'm like, "Points? You're not playing hoops here, pal. These are runs." And it drove me crazy.
Yeah, really.
I know.
Points. I'm like, "You're a baseball lifer? What the hell are you calling it points?"
Like, what?
Yeah. I think our front office is really they're really hand tied to analytics. Like it's not all they do, but that's kind of their focus. And I think it needs to be part of the equation, but not all the equation. So I mean, we got to bang her up like Aaron Judge, but the rest of the guys have to fill in too.
And
you got some good ball players there now. You got a good team in New York. I know the one guy. He's a left-hand hitter. Got a real thick mustache. He always reminds me of one of the guys from back in the '70s in those funny kind of movies,
He's 25 years old. He looks like he's 40 with that mustache. Yeah. He looks he's...
Cashman's been a long time too, and I wonder if he's a little bit on the hot seat too, because Lord knows if the old man Steinbrenner was around, they wouldn't be around,
Right.
Yeah, he'd have made some changes somewhere. Right. It's not for lack of spending. I mean, Soto would have helped, but getting Max Fried was probably better.
Yeah. This is a Yankee story, which you may or may not have heard, and I'm pretty sure it's true. But it was Billy Martin, Whitey Ford, Mickey Mantle, and Mickey's from Oklahoma, and they go out and Mick said, "We're going to go out to my buddy's farm, and we can hunt on the property." So he goes up, talks to the farmer and stuff, and he says, "Yeah," he goes, Mick, he goes, you guys can hunt, and everything. He goes, "But you got to do me a favor." He said, "I got a cow. It's just been with me a long time. I love this cow, but it's bad, and you got to put him down." He goes, "You guys, go ahead and do that for me." So they come back, and it's, Whitey and this, and Mick goes, "I can't believe it." He goes, "That son of a bitch not going to let us hunt today." He goes, "You know what? I'll fix his wagon." So he shoots the cow, and then Billy Martin gets crazy. He starts shooting like there's no tomorrow. He starts shooting some other cows, the good ones. I just thought it's just such a funny story because Billy Martin's such a hothead, and you can only imagine that.
Yeah. He was a character too.
No doubt.
Billy Martin was my favorite thing when we played him in '76. He had that temper, and of course we kicked their butts in 4 straight, but. He got mad. I forget what over, but he was throwing bats out on the field and bowling them and everything. He was just going crazy. That's typical Billy Martin.
Yeah.
And that was like him and Steinbrenner. It was like must see TV. That relationship, higher, fire, higher, fire. You know, it was
5 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then speaking of that, I still think about it was such a shame with Thurman Munson. You know, you talk about a talent, and God, life ended way too short. You know, that was tragic. You know.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, he could be up there because he didn't play long enough, but he could have been up there with one of the all-time catchers too. Ultimately, if he played, you know, if he hadn't died early.
But I mean, and New York managers, I'll never forget when Bobby Valentine was with the Mets and he got tossed, and he comes back and he's got the fake mustache and glasses. He's like trying to be in the dugout. I'm like, only New York, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
That's pretty hilarious.
That was a classic.
Guys, thank you so much for being on here. It's been a great
Thanks
time.
for having us. We really appreciate it.
Well, I got a power for thirst. I'm gonna go have a cold one. So.